Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. It is my pleasure to be hosting you in the Masters of Management, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship webinar, focusing particularly on the international student experience. As we get our people entering the room, let me briefly introduce the panelists for today, with a special appearance of our very own program manager as well. So my name is Nusha Fine. I'm the program director. I am responsible for the strategic outlook of the program and all the content related stuff. With us today is also Marianne Young, who is our fabulous associate director, responsible for operations and team coaching. We also have Beth on the call, who is our application advisor, and she will be helping you through the journey. As I said, with the special appearance of our program manager, James, who will be also hosting day-to-day operations, will guide you through all the onboarding and will be able to answer any questions you may have. Next to our core MMIE team, we also have two very special guests with us today who will share a bit of their experience and will provide some guidance around international student experience at Smith Business School. So I'm very pleased to welcome Norman into our webinar. Norman is an MMIE alum and business development manager at Kingston Economic Development Corporation right here in Kingston. He has joined MMIE and came to Canada internationally and will share a bit of his experience. We also are here with Amanda Gray, who is from our Queen's University International Center, and she's the International Student Advisor. She will talk a bit about the whole process of getting you into our midst in Kingston and at Queen's University, and will answer any questions you might have in relation to any international affairs we may be able to help you with. To get us started, I'll do a quick overview of what MMIE is about. So it's a Masters of Management, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship. And what we do is we provide you with a skill set and a toolkit of innovation and entrepreneurial processes and tools that will help you make change in the environment in the future. So you will launch venture, you will run corporate projects, you will engage in driving change and shaping the future business environment. There's 4 key pillars we work with that make us distinct from any other innovation and entrepreneurship programs. The first one is that this journey is very much customized to individual students. So it is what you make it to be, how much you put in, that is how much you get out. So we work with 6 core courses and 2 project courses. And in the project courses, we do market research. And then the other one is called Project Innovation Launch, where you either launch a venture or run a corporate innovation project, depending on what your MMIE journey is. It is very much individual to you, and you have support from the MMIE core team and dedicated subject matter experts, faculty, and advisors to run you through that journey. We are about practice. We teach the theoretical conceptualization about innovation and entrepreneurship, but we also put you right into there to make it happen. So we integrate theory and practice effectively so that when you exit our MMIE program, you're actually able to be an entrepreneur and innovator. And in order for us to be able to do so, we have developed a strong coaching model on 2 pieces. One, team coaching, because part of the journey will be working in teams to drive change in a variety of contexts, but also individual coaching and advising, where every student gets a dedicated advisor throughout the year that supports them in achieving whatever goal they set themselves. They're all either MMIE alumni or coaching specialists that can help you support in stretching your goals and achieving them within the innovation and entrepreneurship space. But the thing that we are most proud of is the diversity of the cohort. So we are about half international and Canadian cohort. Currently in the MMIE 23 program, we have 18 countries represented. Last year, we had 21 countries represented, and we are also discipline agnostic. So you don't need to be from a specific undergraduate study to join our program. This makes it challenging, but at the same time, really rewarding because it positions you well to make change and drive change and innovation and entrepreneurship within a global context. This is a year at a glance. I know it looks a bit daunting, but it's actually 6 core courses, 2 project courses, and a whole set of fun happening throughout the year. You can do this program from anywhere in the world. You only need to be in Kingston 3 times in a year. In August, we bring you into Kingston to meet the cohort and to work on your entrepreneurial mindset. We also introduce our first course, MMIE 888, which is launching new venture. We present you with your first team, and we build a high-performing team with you through a set of workshops and team building exercises. After you leave August in Kingston, you then go on to MMIE 884 virtually. That is design and systems thinking. That is the class you do in September. That is followed by innovation in practice, which is MMIE 883. As you will see, all of the courses kind of run in 4 to 5 week blocks. So you're focusing on one core course at a time to build the steps towards becoming an effective entrepreneur and innovator. In November, you finish off with innovation in practice, as I said, and then you come back to Kingston in December for a week, where we build on process management and we introduce you to the other 3 core courses. MMIE 853 is managing technology and innovation, 831 is marketing and sales, and 821 is financing your venture. So those courses are introduced in the residential session, but we also focus on building everything process-oriented within innovation. We do a corporate innovation challenge, and we bring practitioners in that kind of give you the practical how-to around corporate innovation. Then you go away, again, you can do it from anywhere in the world and complete the 3 courses that were introduced in the residential session through asynchronous online learning and Q&A sessions with the professors. You finally come back to the final residential session, on campus, boot camp, you name it, we got it, where we focus on corporate innovation and law, and we build the final ventures and corporate projects. From there onwards, your focus is on the key core project, your capstone 908 innovation project launch. Throughout the year, the only overlapping project course is MMIE 808, which is a market research project. You do this on an individual basis for specific interests that you may have. So you research a particular opportunity. So while we run courses one after another, we build sets of master classes that will support you in building your project courses. In a nutshell, that is MMIE year at a glance. And so far, it's worked well. So in the past 7 years, not counting just the graduating class of MMIE 22, over 130 ventures have been launched through MMIE, including social enterprises and scale-ups. Students that have focused on corporate innovations have achieved over 100 promotions, and there's also been a substantial amounts of funds raised by the ventures originating out of MMIE. So in a nutshell, we build innovators and entrepreneurs that will drive the change in the business environment in the future. But you're not here to listen to me talk about MMIE. I think it's really important you hear it firsthand from somebody who has experienced it. So I'll stop sharing and I will introduce you to Norman, who is our fabulous MMIE graduate that has done it all. He has come to Canada internationally. He has launched a social enterprise. He has closed a social enterprise. He has launched another one. He has also landed a corporate innovation job. So Norman, can you tell us a bit about your story and why you've joined MMIE in the first place?
Thank you so much, Misha, for this opportunity to share a little bit about my experience going through the program, living in Kingston, and all the good things that have happened to me through this journey. So I will start by saying that I was born in Rwanda. And as many of you might know, Rwanda went through a period of civil war, genocide. I lived about 10 years in Kenya as a refugee. And so that's how I got to finish my undergrad. And that's probably how I got to the opportunity to start learning English, because Rwanda at the time we were learning in Kinyarwanda and in French. And when I became a refugee in Kenya, we switched to English. And of course, as you can hear me, I still speak like a third, fourth English language speaker. But all that prepared me to the world that we live in, because the world is not, I don't find the world to be a very simple and straightforward place to live. You have to be dynamic, you have to be nimble, you have to know how to access and unlock resources. And probably this is what ended me up to coming to Kingston to join Queen's University's program, MMIE. And I just started by Googling innovation, entrepreneurship, because my career in Africa has mainly depended on supporting small business entrepreneurs or owners and working with startups, training programs, business planning, a bit of management consulting here and there. And so I was looking for a program that can kind of put me in a driving seat to be one of the, maybe a little bit of world shakers, world movers, because I have always believed that the future belongs to the youth, but also without information, without network, without being in the right environment, without the support, it's almost impossible for you to move wherever you want to move as an individual. So we are a social being, we thrive in communities, and it's other people who elevate us. So I was looking for a program that can give me all of those things that I was looking for. And so I got to MMIE, another program from Water University, and another program from, I think, Dalhousie. And then I went a little bit further, looked at the faculty, looked at the experience. And then I was like, probably MMIE will give me that, what I'm looking for. And that's how I ended up going on the Smith website. After like 3 days, I think educational consultant was in touch with me, Christine Melling, and we started talking. And before I knew it, I had already paid. At the time I was in UK, and I was looking to leave Europe because Europe was not really conducive for the career that I wanted. And so I was looking to explore Canada basically and try to see how I can put a foot on the ground in Canada. And so MMIE Kingston became that next staircase I needed to step on as I continue to write towards the career that I wish to have. And so in 2017, on 4 days from starting the program, on 3rd September 2017, landed in Kingston. And there goes my journey. It started right there.
Thank you, Norman. And can you talk a bit about the journey? So as an international student, you are now all of a sudden in Kingston. What are the benefits? What were potentially the challenges? And how did the MMIE journey get you to where you are now?
Yeah, so I think I will start right from probably the people who I met in the program. And I think my class, we had between 13 to 15 different countries. And being in that class around kind of gives you the opportunity to have a feel of what a global village feels like, because you're always being told we live in a global village, the world is becoming increasingly interconnected and so on and so forth. But when I sat in that room, in that class, and kind of had the opportunity to learn from every aspect of probably a way of life from any corner of this world, due to the diversity in the classroom, I was able to kind of start even not only learning about the content, but also learning from my colleagues. What is it like to live, work? What are the political business environment like in those countries? What do you care most about from your cultural background? Like those type of things that gives you really, it takes you closer to understanding how life is in another community. And so when I started the program, I remember, I think we started with Elspeth. So I think something about creating new ventures. And that right there is like what I was looking for, because we were given an assignment before we went in class about, I think, entrepreneurs, the cultural traits and how we feel, how we compare and contrast and so on and so forth. So when I was writing that paper, I was kind of getting increasingly excited because I was discovering things that I never thought that's how I operated. I was doing some secondary research here and there and kind of trying to say, oh, I do this, I behave like this. And so when I got in that class and I started asking questions and I listened to the professor and I listened to her experience, I looked at the things she had done, I was like, wow. That right there, I was like, this is where I need to be. And so that was the 12 months of my life that I call like having the opportunity to understand who you are, to connect with who you are, to think through what you have done, kind of use a rear view mirror to try to see like, this is who I am up to now. Now I have 12 months to work on who I am and reposition myself into who I want to become. So after graduating from MMIE, no, when I joined the program first, I had I had come with an idea. I had a startup that I was working on. And so I introduced the startup in the program. I received all the feedback that I can receive, all the tools that I can use to develop it. And by the time I graduated, I was already connected to the Queen's Innovation Center to do what they call QICSI, the Queen's Innovation Center, I think, summer initiative program, where you get an opportunity to meet with like 60 other entrepreneurs in the community who are either from Queens or from Kingston. And then we spend that summer taking our ventures to the next step. And so by the time I graduated, I had already done a pilot, I had already gone to India, I had already flown to Boston through the Queen's Innovation programming. And so I was very far ahead of where I was supposed to be if I had probably been in a traditional educational program. And one thing that I appreciated during that time was the flexibility of the program to allow me to participate into both programs because they were happening almost at the same time. And so I kind of got the better of both worlds that I was in at the time. And so I graduated, created B Skills Academy, ran it for almost 3 years, trained about 6,000 people. We have about 300 entrepreneurs from 30 different countries spread around Africa, some in Europe and some in South America. And in 2019, I had the revelation. I don't know what happened to me. I ended the company. But at the same time, COVID was kind of starting to become a thing, but still in the, not really kind of, you could see that there was something that was happening, but it was not clear. I could feel it. And so I said, okay, let me terminate this company and get a job. So I used my network and my experience I had built while working on the company, both in Kingston and outside Kingston, to get my first job. And I was hired as a business development advisor with the Kingston Economic Development Corporation. And then after 6 months, I was promoted into a business development manager, and I've been there since. But also, if I go back like maybe a year back, I at the same time, because of, I think, the program, how MMIE is designed, how it shows you how you can work, you can probably do a lot using probably scarce or lesser resources. I was able to again go back into put on my entrepreneurial heart and start working on another company. So right now I have a company called B Skills for Good, which is a not-for-profit organization. We have 2 contracts with 2 very good client or partners. One of them is it's called Dream Legacy Foundation. It's one of the organizations implementing the Black Innovation Fund that was launched by the government of Canada 2 years ago. So we work with them, with DMZ at Ryerson University, to try and help new entrepreneurs to kind of set up, accelerate their startups. So that's kind of been my experience. I've had the opportunity to be both an entrepreneur, to be an intrapreneur, and also operate into what I call the hybrid model, where I'm working, but I also have like side hustle and trying to carry both the entrepreneurial and intrapreneurial kind of journey along. So that's kind of where I am today. And I'm still working with the Kingston Economic Development Corporation, of course.
Thanks so much, Norman. So for our attendees, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them into the Q&A tab. Norman or myself or any of our distinguished guests are happy to help. Norman, I'm going to finish it off with one final question. The biggest lessons learned as an international student in Canada, and a piece of advice to our potential future students before I hand it over to Amanda to run us through the procedures we might need to engage with.
Yeah, so as an international student, I think one of the first thing to note is that you are new in a country and you are looking to not only learn how people work in Canada, but you're also looking to build the network that you need to be able to succeed. So the program gave me the opportunity to do both at the same time, because like I said before, it was 12 months to work on myself, to understand myself, and also take the opportunity to build networks. In my class, we had people who were CEOs in some of the local organizations, managers in some of the key government departments, young graduates who are also looking for opportunities just like us. We all became like a community. We started supporting each other, referring each other to resources. We used to have a WhatsApp group. We'd put it, or even Slack sometimes, and put in like something like, hey, have you seen this opportunity? We think this will look good for you or for your career or something like that. And so we kept working like that until I think like 3/4 of my class in the first like 6 months, 3/4 of my class had already jobs already. Those who didn't want to work for other people, they were already setting up their companies. So I was in that category of people who are just seeing resources and sharing them with my network or my class. So it was really, from my experience, I think as an international student, you want to join a community that is not only there to support you, but really like walking with you through the journey. Now, as a local student, I've always found like many of the local students who are in my class were looking for, like you are between jobs, or you're looking to shift your career, or you've been working in the same space, same organization for 10 years or 5 years. You're like, okay, I think I've maximized my opportunities or my learning here. I want to kind of change and go into a different direction. So one of the things that I've seen MMIE do really well is I look at my class. We had people who are interested or who had a background in medical schools, in engineering, in law, in like all these different spaces. So who are like technically really great people in their spaces. Then you come and do MMIE. It's kind of you widen your space. So let's say you are an engineer. In this case, if you finish MMIE, you are not only an engineer who can work with customers, other stakeholders, like you are really good at what you are good at, but you have all these other kind of what I call a business skill set that helps you now to kind of sit in the middle of technical departments and business or functional departments in an organization. If I give an example, it would be like if you are a software developer, you've really been great at developing software, sitting there or mobile apps, developing whatever is required. What MMI does to that is it gives you the opportunity to not only do that, but to be able to understand now to work on the customer-facing side or partners-facing side, because you know how to engage potential clients, you know how to engage stakeholders to your organization and partners. And so you can be an engineer or a software developer and more. And what that does is it widens your scope of potential opportunities. And so if you look at the world today, we are in a dynamic and changing world. And I always like to use the example of project management. There is a time where waterfall or traditional project management was the only probably project approach that was used in managing projects. You look at today, it's all about agile. Why? You take your mobile phone, every 3 months or every week, there is like a new update. You are told, oh, you have to restart, you download this and you have to restart your mobile phone so that you put in a new, or they update some aspects of your operating system. So when you look at how the world works today, you have to be nimble, you have to be dynamic, you have to be agile. And so the agile project management, things like Scrum, they have become a thing of the day. And the reason is there is need for people who can put up products there. You know very well that these products are not final, but you are very well aware that you have the capabilities to continue to build on what you already put into the market. So I look at MMIE and say, if you are someone who's looking to do not only expand the scope of your career opportunities or your career spectrum, if you're looking to develop a product or to establish a company, this is the program that you should be looking for, in my view, because I've not only gotten what I wanted from the program, but today I can still go to the university or to Smith School and get a couple of students given to me as potential interns into my work. I still refer other people who are not from, even if within the Kingston community, to the program to see if some of the students who are interested in solving the solutions these people are working on can be probably given the opportunity to serve as internship opportunities or potential employers, and so on and so forth. So for me, even if I graduated in 2018, I've really never left Queen's alone or Smith School or MMIE alone. Nusha will always receive an email from me at least every 2 months. So that's kind of my experience. One of the things that I think I can give as advice or recommendation to students who are looking through the program is, if you feel like this is the time and you're looking to do a program that will not take you forever, it's just 12 months, you get down to what you're supposed to do, you really kind of, I call it like when you have a vehicle that has existed for like, you have used it for like 5, 3, 4, 10 years, and you're looking to remake it and then put it again back on the road as a sports car. I take these 12 months, like what you will do to that car. You take it to a garage, do panel beating, repaint it, put probably some sports wheels, put some powerful exhaust pipes. And when it comes out, people are like, wow, this is new. You know, so these 12 months is an opportunity to not only work on yourself, but reposition and reestablish yourself into who you want to become.
Thank you so much, Norman. That was a great analogy. I look forward to producing many sports cars in the MMIE in the future. One important aspect, and Norman has touched on it for quite a bit, is the supporting mechanisms within Smith School of Business and Queen's University. So I'm delighted to be hosting Queen's University International Center student advisor Amanda Gray in our midst. And Amanda will tell you a bit about what the Innovation Center can support you with and what may be the requirements you need to go through as an international student. I did see a hand go up incidentally and was lowered as well. If I can ask you if you can have your questions posted in the Q&A. And we will address them either directly in the Q&A by typing, or we will answer them live. So Amanda, welcome. Over to you.
Thank you so much for having me, Norman. I loved your story. It was great. And the sports car analogy, I've never heard that. I may take it in the future, just so you know. I'll give you credit though. Hi, everyone. So my name is Amanda Gray, and I'm one of the international student advisors at QUIC, the Queen's University International Center. So there's currently 2 of us, and we are both trained in Canadian immigration. So one thing that we do is we do support international students as they are looking at study permits, work permits, immigration questions regarding Canada. So this presentation, I'm going to give you a bit of an overview about what we do, but also some information just to show you some of the supports that you'll have when you start at Queen's, but also before you start at Queen's, because as you know, going through the admissions process is one thing, but then you actually have to start planning to arrive in Canada if you are from outside of Canada or returning to Canada. And so we do a lot of supports around that. We also work with a number of campus partners. So just to give you an idea of what is available to you. And then at the end, I'll talk about some of the resources that you can access now. There's a couple that will give you some information from students as to what it's like being a student at Queen's and the experiences that they've had to help you prepare, and something that you can access anytime you want, because they are all fully online. So the first link that I would tell you to remember is isa@queensu.ca. So that is the email address for the International Student Advisors. If you have a question, even if you're not sure if it's a question for us, you're welcome to send it to us and we will direct it to the correct department if we can't answer it. So sometimes students aren't really sure who to contact. So you're able to contact us and we will forward you along. Also, you may have your email forwarded to us if you contact the MMIE and they may copy us on it. So we work very collaboratively with a number of departments at Queen's. So the Queen's International Student Center, also known as QUIC, is a center that is specifically for supporting international students. However, our services are open to every student at Queen's. So there are some specific things that are focused on international students, but there are other things that any student at Queen's can participate in. So we provide, our main focus is providing supports for students as they transition to studying at Queen's and also living in Kingston. So some of that is our pre-arrival seminars that we run every summer to help students prepare for coming to Canada. We include sessions on preparing to arrive in Canada. So what to expect when you arrive at the border, what documents to bring with you, what you might want to consider as you are planning for your travels. During COVID, this was a big thing because there was a lot of travel restrictions. We also run sessions on academic culture and how it may be a little bit different than what you're used to at home. Human rights, so knowing your rights when you're in Canada. Housing, always a big concern for students who are coming, especially if you're traveling with family. Where am I going to live? What's it going to be like? What's rent? What's a lease agreement? And then we offer a number of opportunities for students to connect with other students in the broader Queen's community. So I know the MMIE program will do a lot to connect the years together with everyone else, but we also offer a little connection to the broader Queen's community. We also run bi-weekly immigration advising sessions for students who are at Queen's. So students have questions about work permits, study permit extensions. Those are done specifically by the International Student Advisors because we are both regulated under the IRPA. We are regulated under, I forget which act, it's the IRPA Act, which is a law in Canada. So only certain people can give immigration advice in Canada, and we are, both the advisors are able to do that. We also provide information about health insurance. Another thing that a lot of students who are coming, you know, how do you access health and how do you access healthcare in Canada? This may be something that I hope none of you ever have to know it, but you know, it's always good to know, how do you get healthcare for yourself or your loved ones when you're in Canada? So we do also administer the university health insurance plan. We refer students to academic supports. We also run some programming specifically for students. So we have a cultural awareness certificate program, which talks about how culture can impact our daily lives. And when we are moved to another place, how it can cause a little bit of confusion maybe, and we have to get used to this different place and how they do things differently. And the food's just not quite as good as it was at home. You know, everything's different, and people talk really fast. I'm probably talking really fast. So it's a bit of a transition. So we offer a number of programmings around that. And one of the things that we do is we have the Quick World Link program, which is focused on offering social opportunities for students to connect. So just this month we have, so Halloween is a thing in Kingston in Canada, and we have a few Halloween themed activities that are taking place. So we have Buki movie night, and also a visit to a local corn maze. So students will be able to go get lost in the corn maze. They don't get lost, just so you know, but it's a fun time. It's a bus trip. So we do offer a number of bus trips and as an opportunity for students to get comfortable and know of the many different things you can do in Kingston. We offer hiking trips to Lemoyne Point, where you can see one of our beautiful hiking trails around Lake Ontario. So it's a great opportunity for students to connect. And the other link that if you're an international student, you'll want to know for your entire time in Canada is the Government of Canada Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada link, so canada.ca. So as you're going through the admissions process and deciding to apply, or if you've already applied, you're also going to want to think about when should you be applying for your study permit. And the best advice I can give you there is apply as early as possible. We saw some of the longest processing times I've ever seen in my number of years as an international student advisor during COVID, and those times are still very high. So we're still looking at 13 weeks. And when you talk about 13 weeks, it's like, oh, it's just 13 weeks. It's not that long. Well, that's 3 months. So so what we always advise students is you need to apply as early as possible, because the processing times vary by country and they vary by time frames. So as you're applying to start the program in August, every other student who wants to start the program in September is also applying. So you're going to see a lot of additional applications enter the system. So get your documents in as early as possible so that you can be sure to have your application reviewed and processed so that you're ready to come and arrive in Kingston for your first residential session in August. And you'll have some extra time to get here and get settled. So you're not just arriving the day before the session starts. You're able to, arrive maybe a week or two early and set things up. Housing, bank accounts, cell phones, all these different things that at this point in time, you may just be starting to think about. You can also get some information on our website for this, but canada.ca is your best resource for immigration related inquiries. And you can contact the ISAs at isa@queensu.ca, and we can provide you with some information about applying for study permits. From outside of Canada, it's a little more difficult because they are processed by the local embassies, but we can definitely provide you with links as to embassy specific processing instructions. And then the next thing, just to let you know of some of the resources that a number of international students, is one of the first questions we often get in our center is housing. How do I find housing? So this slide is really just to tell you that there are resources to help you with your housing search as you're coming to Kingston. And we do offer multiple housing information sessions with the off-campus living advisor, which is a great resource for learning about tenant laws in Ontario, finding housing in Kingston specifically, what to expect, what to look for, how to even start your search. So as you're going through the process of, applying, getting the offer letter, looking at the study permit, and also starting to plan your arrival and housing, it's just a really good thing to know that there's lots of resources at Queen's and supports that will help you along this journey. And the MMIE program is an excellent resource. Everyone is extremely helpful there. And then the last thing I'm going to just say is ways that you can connect with us. So, you can connect with us before you arrive. You have questions, send us an email. We're happy to answer it. We also do advising sessions every day. We have online advising sessions every day of the week, Monday to Thursday. And then some resources that you may want to access is the International Student Guidebook. So this will just give you an idea of the various resources available at Queen's, and also some things to think about as when you get that offer letter. What's your next step? There's some checklists in there to help you. What should you pack? What should you consider? Where can you go for assistance if you have a specific question? And then something that we are very excited about, and it was actually created by our colleagues over in the Student Academic Success Services, is their podcast series. So this is a series of podcasts. There's 8 a year. And we're on our 2nd year, and it's international students sharing their experiences at Queen's regarding academic, finances, what's it like to be an international student at Queen's? And it's hosted by a student, of course. And I know both of them, and they're great. They were wonderful presenters. So I would encourage you to reach out and kind of get an idea of what Queen's is like. Kingston is a beautiful city. We are currently in the fall. And I really hope I get an opportunity to meet you in person when you come. So that's my presentation. If anyone has any questions, I am more than happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Amanda. So any questions, please pop them into the chat. So that is just one way of getting support at Queen's University for particularly international students. Just as a side note, as part of the MMIE onboarding process, we have introduced mentorships programs as well, where about springtime, you will get connected when you enroll into the program with an alumni mentor who will help you with any questions that you might not feel comfortable asking the formal team. So i.e. MMIE core team, or quick advisors, or anybody else related to the institution. So we are here to build entrepreneurs and innovators of the future and to support you within that space. And our community of MMIEs is there to help and mentor as well. So I'm going to give it another minute to any questions. So pop them into the Q&A function within our webinar if you have any. Otherwise, I might hand it over to Norman to tell us a bit about life in Kingston. And then, so Norman, you were in Kingston during the MMIE, you stayed in Kingston, but some of your international classmates didn't. Could you talk a bit about the comparison between one and the other? What are the benefits of living in Kingston? And maybe if you've seen any benefits of not necessarily living in Kingston from your classmates as well.
Thank you, Nisha. So I think for me, when I came here, I had just come from like two very big cities. I didn't talk a lot about my experience, but before I came here, I had opportunities to live and work in 22 countries. And some of the cities like Tokyo, like Seoul, South Korea, like London, UK, like Brussels, Belgium. I live Dallas, Texas. I lived in those cities and realized that there is more to life than just the grind, than just waking up and facing the pressure. Like you look at people on the streets in London, UK, there is nobody smiling. You can even slap someone, nobody will look at you. So I spent there 12 months and then I was like, if this is how I'm gonna live my life, then what is it to life? You know, you can see like stress on people's faces because they are zoomed in, they are walking, they just want to get into that chair and start working. Once they leave, they work, busy again going home, traffic. So I was tired of those type of things, to be honest. So when I got in Kingston, I booked the cheapest flight from London, UK to Kingston. I paid about $250. So that means that I had like many layover. I went to Newfoundland, St. John Airport. Then from there, I flew to Halifax. From there, I flew to Montreal. From Montreal, I took by rail, the train, up to Kingston. So when I got in Kingston, my landlord was already parked at the train. And he's like, oh, you are Norman? I'm like, yes, I'm Norman. Oh, he drove me to the house. And then when I put my stuff in the house, automatically left the house. I was still using my European number. And then when I got on Princess Street, my data, I think, ran out or something like that. And so my Google Maps was not really working. And then, so I was stuck on Sydenham and Princess. And then I was trying to make like 3 steps, cross the lights, come back. And then one lady saw me from the other side. And she came, she's like, hey, are you lost? Can I help? And right there, my answer was given. Like, if you are in London, UK, and you get stranded, even if people are hijacking you or whatever is happening to you, nobody cares, nobody pays attention. So when this lady came and asked me if she can help, I was like, oh, I need to go to Queens. I've just come in Kingston. I want to go to campus. I'm starting in almost 2 to 3 days, but I've never been in Canada. So this is my first day. And then she told me, oh, take this road, then you go straight. When you see a big garage, that it means you already be on Queens campus. And so right there, my reason for believing that we are a social being, living in a community where people appreciate you or people do not fear you, all of those beautiful stuff that I was looking for, that lady validated them. And I've never been disappointed ever since. In Kingston, I live a holistic, full life. I cycle when I'm lucky, 100 kilometers. I do hike, I play soccer, I play frisbee, I run, play tennis sometimes. And in any of those activities, I just have like 10 people I can call and we form a group right away, like this. They're not necessarily Rwandese or East Africans or Africans. They're from all corners of the world. And so that's kind of what I like about Kingston. So I do not only want to work and succeed, but I also want to have a life beyond just working and succeeding. Some of my colleagues say, oh, Kingston is too small. I want to be in a bigger city. So opposite of what I was looking for. And some of them do come back. We have seen a couple of them come back, go like, Kingston looks like it gives you the best of all. And then we are located, all the time that I've gone to the US, I've driven because I'm 7 hours from DC and Boston, 7 hours to New York. If I want to go to Montreal, 3 hours. If I want to go to Toronto, 3 hours. If I want to go to Ottawa, 2 hours. So like you are located in a small city that gives you the opportunity to live as if you live in a bigger city. But if I also am looking for that lifestyle in bigger cities, I just drive or take a train, just 3 hours away. So that's for me what I love about Kingston. I know that it's not everyone's choice to want to be in that type of community, but for me, that's what I was looking for. And so I always say, if someone is going to get me out of Kingston, you're going to double my salary.
Thank you so much, Norman. So I have not seen any questions, so I'll do one final thing. So Amanda has shared the information about how to contact.
Misha, there is a question.
All right.
Yeah.
I missed the question.
Someone is saying if the program allows people to work part-time.
So yes. So at the moment, Amanda, maybe I should let you answer that question just from the perspective of changes that are happening.
Sure. So international students that hold a study permit and have the required remarks typically are allowed to work about 20 hours off campus per week. However, there is a new temporary measure in place that will be starting on November 15th and will last for about a year that will allow students with a study permit who are enrolled as full-time students at institutions such as Queen's to work full-time during their studies under the regulations of their study permit. So this is a temporary policy. We don't know if it will be extended, if it will just end on the day it's mentioned. But for right now, students are able to start working full-time with their study permit starting November 15th. And that program lasts, I don't know the exact date, but I think it's about a year, maybe a little bit more. But when you are coming to Canada with a study permit or as a temporary resident, it's always good to keep up to date on the IRCC policies, because during COVID, we saw a lot of temporary policies put into place to help international students. So that's an excellent question.
Maybe what I wanted to add on that, Amanda, is that actually, even if you don't have a co-op work permit, let's say you have a student permit alone, you can work at Queen's 20 hours in a university setting, 20 hours every week. So I think it will depend also on some of the students. Like in my class, we had people who kept their jobs in their home country. So they kind of worked remotely. So you're not necessarily employed in Canada, but you haven't also quit your job. You are still able to work through the program, like Lucia mentioned at the beginning, it's, I think, 3 boot camps, and you just take a holiday for those 2 weeks or 1 week, and you'll be ready to go.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Norman. So for some technical issues, I do not see the questions. So I will rely on Norman and Beth to share if there are any additional questions that we might be able to answer.
There is another question about how does one have to wait for an admission in order to get an ample to process his or her visa, to get enough time to be able to process visa.
All right, so what is the admission process, if I understood correctly? Marianne, you might want to tackle that one.
Sorry about that. Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, so the question is around the admissions process. So how does the whole admissions enrollment procedure work so that the students are aware of how and when to apply for the visa?
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And sorry, I just wasn't able to see those questions either. So essentially, this is a really great time to start the admission process. I'm working with a lot of students right now, which really helps to, make sure that there's plenty of time to apply for that visa. So essentially working with Beth, who is our application advisor, if you're not already working with her, I would encourage you to reach out to her, and she will sort of essentially map out the application process so it's very easy and straightforward. And then admissions decision will be made, and you'll be able to apply for your visa from there. So best course of action is to connect with Beth directly.
Can I add something on that?
Absolutely, please do.
Yeah, so every country, there is like, how do you call it? Like an average visa processing time. So I know, like, for example, West Africa, many of the countries in West Africa, it's 6 months. Probably if you're in Europe, you can probably do it in a week or probably less than a month. So depending on where you are in the world, the first thing I'll do over and above what Marianne had just said is to look at the visa processing time in your country. But you do not want to, from my experience, and I've talked to a lot of students who have come either to MMIE or other universities, you don't wait for the 6 months and then apply. From my experience, you should apply probably between 6 to 9 months away from that time you're looking for. So it's always better when it comes to immigration to be ahead of time rather than letting the pressure accumulate on you on whether you're getting your visa today or tomorrow and then you travel.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Marianne and Norman. I'm going to check with you if there are any other questions we can answer.
There is another one.
Go ahead, Norman.
For how long how long does one have to wait for admission once you apply?
Yep, I can tackle that one. So typically, it's a little bit case by case, but typically about 1 week or 2 weeks max that you'll hear an admissions decision from the committee. We are starting to meet fairly regularly, so it's generally a fairly quick process now that we've kickstarted the recruitment cycle.
All right, there is another one. Thank you, Marianne. Please, do you have scholarship opportunities for this course?
Yes, absolutely. There are scholarship opportunities. There are a couple. So essentially, once your file is sent to the admissions committee for review, you will be reviewed for a scholarship. We call it the Dean's Entrance Scholarship. So nothing additional that you need to apply for that. And then we also have a couple of other scholarships that we introduced about a year ago. So Smith's Scholarship for Black students and Smith Scholarship for Indigenous students. So Beth can provide you with more details on those specific scholarships, and they do require an essay to be able to apply for them. And that actually happens a little bit closer to the start of the program. Any other questions that you see, Norman?
Yes, so there is there a graduate assistantship offer available?
So if I interpret that correctly, different opportunities to work with our faculty members. Let me know if that's not the question. And I would say that, yes, our faculty members do have teaching assistants, but those opportunities are rare. And so I would say it's not something to rely on. What I would instead sort of suggest is connecting with our Career Advancement Center that would support in various opportunities such as internships or career opportunities, joining a startup, these types of things.
And Marianne, I wanted to add something. There is I actually got $3,000 work study. How do they call it? Work study. There is something you apply for at Queen's. It's like you work for Queen's and then you get like $3,000 that can go to your tuition fees and.
So I can talk about that, Norman, if you'd
Okay.
like. Yeah, so there's a program at Queen's, which is called Work Study, which is, so it's known as Work Study. So basically students can apply for work study funding. And then if they get hired and then they also apply for jobs at the university. So maybe working at Quick, we hire about 12 students a year. Other departments will also hire students. And then that funding is used to pay the students' wages for the work that they do for the department. So that is a program that's run through Career Services and the Student Awards Office at Queen's. And it's an excellent opportunity. And it's because it gives students, they get to work at Queen's and get to know a little bit more, make some connections and get some work experience that they're able to use with their resumes. And there's lots of opportunities there. And also the departments get the ability to hire students.
Yeah, thank you. There's another question about what are some of the expectations during the interview?
Yeah, great. Thanks. Great question. So really, it's just an opportunity to meet our students who are interested in the program. We have access to all of the information that was submitted through Beth for the application. So, it's really just that final piece of the application, really just to get to know you and understand, true motivations for coming into the program. I'm also open and ready for any questions to better understand what this experience is and sort of how it aligns to individual career goals. But other than that, it's really just that opportunity to get to know our students.
I think what I can add on that actually is if I were you, I look at people who have done MMIE on LinkedIn and connect with them and start building that network and learning from them the experience and how they went, how they managed to go through the interview and succeed. Then there is another one. What support does the school give to international students with spouse and children?
Right. So we certainly give you all of the, different resources and things to support a whole family coming to Canada. And so, James is our program manager. He's on the call today. And so he works with a lot of our students directly on their individual needs. And I know that a few of our students have come to Canada for the first time. And, he's been working with them on family and just trying to support in different ways. I recall a conversation that I had with one of our students just about different play groups, that his children could attend with his spouse. So, different conversations like that and different resources, because it is a big thing. It is a big decision to move your whole family. And so, like I said, we provide a lot of the resources, and certainly Amanda's shop has a lot of resources for those types of things as well.
Yeah, so just to add to that, I would say that we also work very closely with the Immigrant Services Kingston area, which will help people register their children for school, explain the school districts, also daycare in Kingston. There's also a service known as Keys, which will help if you're bringing your spouse and they would like to work with, and they have a work permit, they're able to go get some support with cover letters, preparing for interviews, applying to jobs in Kingston. And then all of our programming at Quick is also open for spouses. So the bus trips I was mentioning, we get a lot of spouses that also come on that. And there's some English conversation groups. So sometimes spouses will join that also if they're looking to improve their English conversational process or just meet other people. So there's lots of supports to help spouses and children.
I wanted to add that this is most important to mention it, but Queen's University has a food bank. In JDAC, you go upstairs, I think 5th floor or 4th floor. If you need food, you can collect as much as you want, as you would buy in the supermarket or in the grocery store. So I didn't know that service existed until I was, I think, like 6 months at university. And someone was like, do you know that you can actually do this and this and this and this? I'm like, okay, how much can you take? They're like, you can take as much as you want. You just have to give a student card, no fee, no nothing. So there is a lot of support in the community. I think one of the key things is to make sure that when you are new, you build the right network, you strategize on how to get information, all the information that you're looking for. But the support within Queens and outside Queens in organizations that are partnering with Queens in different areas, even as guys at Kingston Economic Development, we are always here to support.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Norman. Any other questions that I may not be seeing?
Nope,
All
looks
right.
like we're good, Nisha.
Excellent. So thank you very much for joining us. And note that the international deadline for applications into MMIE program is the end of January next year, just to allow for the processings of visas, as you are required to come to an in-person session in Kingston in August, which would mean that you would require your study permits and visa documentations all sorted. You can see on the screen the numbers to call, the pages to visit for any additional information. Amanda has also shared some of the resources available. We are happy to share that with you. So just get in touch with us, with Beth. She will be able to provide you the additional resources. And we're hoping to see you in Kingston in August. Thank you very much, Norman, Amanda, Marianne, James, and Beth. Any questions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to get in touch, and have a great rest of your day.